Because if Monken really took this job for Watson, the Browns are about to repeat history in the worst way.
But if it were just these three guys, it's like, well, Shedeur goes in as the number one QB, and if he's bad, Deshaun Watson can certainly replace him as QB1 going into week one.
There truly are people in the organization that last year during that window, forget about more time off, more time to heal,
Because I think getting the best play out of the team, right? And Todd Monken's job is to identify what quarterback's going to perform best within the offense. I think if you identify that guy as Deshaun Watson, this is where the coach's side of thought comes in and where the front office side of thought comes in. Because if I can get Deshaun to play better than Shedeur, okay, well, that's almost expectation. I paid that guy $230 million. He probably should play better than Shedeur Sanders does, who was my fifth-round pick.
Then he's got to play.
But you got a $46 million elephant in the room that nobody wants to look at. And I'd much rather argue about, I got people arguing with me about shorts and T-shirt flag football interceptions over the other guy right now. That's where your fan base is at, Tone. They don't want to hear about that other guy. And I think that we need to be, as you and I, we can talk about what's best for football, but I think we also need to be cognizant over the next several months over what's best also for the fan base. I've not been a Deshaun Watson fan for these 4 years.
How could you be?
I haven't been.
Cleveland media just exposed Todd Monken's dirty little secret, and it's about to flip everything you thought you knew about the Browns quarterback room. They're saying Monken didn't take this job because of Shedeur Sanders. He took it for Deshaun Watson. Yeah, the same Watson who hasn't played since week 7 of 2024. The same Watson recovering from his second torn Achilles. The same Watson everyone wrote off as finished. But according to Cleveland insiders, Monken really likes Watson and was hired specifically to access his elite skills. They're out here telling you on camera that Watson might still be QB1, that he was better than Shedeur even during his injury window, that this whole thing was never about the rookie. The question is, are they trying to protect a $230 million investment? Or are they about to make the biggest mistake in franchise history? Because while they're busy dreaming about 2017 Watson, they might be sabotaging the one quarterback who can actually save their franchise.
Throughout the entire process. And look, I didn't like it. It took them 24 days to figure out that they were going to hire Todd Monken, which was like as anticlimactic, but I can't believe they just did that as it got. But they did it, and it took them 24 days. But the other part of this, too, was his reaction. And I speak from experience here. Understandable. The displeasure, the disappointment, all of that.
Cleveland Browns are doing a great job insulating themselves because they're throwing you off the trail. They're giving you the ability to speculate on certain things, but not taking it far enough where they're denouncing the fact that they like Shedeur Sanders.
This is where word choice matters. Not just what's said, but what's emphasized. Let's listen to how Monken approaches it.
Well, I'm just going to start with personality traits. I mean, when you talk about who's going to lead this team.
Look, I'm not making this up. I don't wake up thinking about wild stories to create. I wake up and react to the insanity that comes out of Cleveland. And this right here, this is straight from Cleveland media, from the people who are credentialed, who have access to the building, who know what's really going on behind those closed doors. And what they're saying should terrify every Shedeur Sanders fan out there. Let me break down what just happened. BrownsNation.com, and yes, they're an actual Cleveland media company with credentials, just dropped a report that has everyone talking. Mo Motton from Bleacher Report is predicting that the Browns are about to land Russell Wilson. Yeah, Russell Wilson, the 10-time Pro Bowler who just signed with the Giants and told reporters he's not ready to retire. They're saying Wilson may have another solid year left in him with a team that plays in his home state of Ohio. And sure, Wilson is from Ohio, but let's be real. This is Cleveland doing what Cleveland does best, chasing names, chasing nostalgia, chasing anything except developing the young talent right in front of them. But here's where it gets even crazier. The report mentions that the Browns have a youth quarterback in Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, and that Wilson could bring experience and stability to the Browns in a crazy situation. Experience and stability? Bro, Shedeur Sanders is out here showing accuracy that's on a whole different level, extending plays when they look dead, stepping up in the pocket like a 10-year veteran, and reading zone coverage better than he ever did at Colorado or Jackson State. The kid is developing right before our eyes, and Cleveland wants to bring in a 36-year-old quarterback who's bouncing around the league?
Actually, Todd Monken saying that he could very much be the guy. That's why he took the job, allegedly. That's what they saying in Cleveland. It wasn't because of Shedeur. No. It's because of Deshaun Watson. I got to tell you. So let's listen to this, man.
And it doesn't stop there. Reports are coming out that the Browns have been in contact with Malik Willis. Yeah, the same Malik Willis who put himself in position to earn a significant payday. Now look, I can't even lie. Willis is nice. He's actually pretty good. But is he Shedeur good? That's the question nobody in Cleveland wants to answer honestly. Because what makes Shedeur so incredible isn't just one thing, it's everything. His accuracy is elite. His ability to extend the play is something you can't teach. When the play looks completely dead, when defenders are closing in, when receivers are covered, Shedeur finds a way to make something happen. He waits on receivers to get open, something we saw develop in him this year. And his pocket presence? Completely transformed since he got to Cleveland. At Jackson State in Colorado, Shedeur was dropping back, getting out of the pocket quick. Now, he's stepping up. He's reading defenses. He's checking out zone 2 coverage like he's been doing it for years. These are the developmental steps that show you have a future top 5 quarterback on your hands. Once he gets the rookie kinks out, once he gets the right coaching and support around him, Shedeur Sanders is going to be a problem for the entire league. That's not hype. That's what the tape shows. But here's where this whole thing goes from confusing to completely insane. While everyone is talking about Russell Wilson and Malik Willis and all these veteran additions, Cleveland media dropped the real bombshell. And this is where you need to pay attention, because what they're saying behind closed doors is completely different from what they're telling the public. Todd Monken, the new offensive coordinator, the guy who's supposed to be here to develop the young quarterbacks, to build an offense around Shedeur's elite arm talent and playmaking ability. According to Cleveland insiders, that's not why he's here at all. They're saying on camera, and I'm not paraphrasing, this is word for word, that Monken was hired to access the elite skills of Deshaun Watson, not Shedeur, not the rookie who just had a promising season, not the future franchise quarterback, Watson. Listen to what they said. Todd Monken was hired to access the elite skills. And when pressed about whether Watson could still be QB1 going into the season, one of them said, "There truly are people in the organization that last year during that window, if it was clear then that he was better than Shedeur Sanders, how would you expect Shedeur to beat him out in a competition?" Let that sink in. They're saying Watson was better than Shedeur last year, during his injury window, while he was recovering from surgery. And they're implying that nothing has changed, that Watson is still the guy, that this competition is already decided before it even starts.
People don't, he's struggled with this time here, but Deshaun Watson, when you talk about, I'm not talking about anything off the field. I'm not talking about the injuries, but I'm talking about throwing the football. There are very few people that I've seen in my life throw a football like Deshaun Watson. It is absolutely incredible watching him throw a football. So you would like to, if he's healthy and he can be at least in the mix, and hope maybe that could help the maturation process of Shedeur. I also think Dylan Gabriel, maybe he got caught up in the check it down too much. And
it gets worse. They brought up Watson's personal quarterback coach, Quincy Avery. They talked about how Watson is rehabbing and getting his act together, how there are people in the organization who believe he's going to come back and be the player he was. One of them even said, "I assumed that he was going to be a shell of himself athletically going into surgery, but that's not the case." They're convincing themselves that Watson is going to return to form, that the 2 torn Achilles injuries don't matter, that the fact he hasn't played since week 7 of 2024 is just a minor setback. But wait until you hear the most telling part. When asked directly, which one would be your QB1 going into the season? There was a pause. A long, uncomfortable pause. And then one of them said, "He really likes Watson. That cannot be discounted." And the other person responded, "It can't be discounted, and I remember that. I haven't forgotten it already. And that's something that we need to keep in the back of our minds, and it might need to go further and further closer to the front of our minds as time goes on." You hear that? He really likes Watson. Not he believes in the young guys. Not he's excited about Shedeur's development. He likes Watson, the 29-year-old quarterback with 2 torn Achilles injuries, who hasn't been the same player since his Houston days. That's who Monken allegedly took this job for. Now, I want to be fair here because this is where things get interesting. Cleveland has a history of doing this. They signed Joe Flacco last year when everyone thought he was washed. They've cycled through quarterbacks like they're collecting trading cards. Baker Mayfield, Jacoby Brissett, Joshua Dobbs, PJ Walker, the list goes on. So when they say they're interested in Russell Wilson or Malik Willis, or that Monken is here for Watson, It's not surprising. It's the Cleveland Browns being the Cleveland Browns. But here's what they're missing. Here's what all these media people and front office executives don't seem to understand. Shedeur Sanders isn't just another young quarterback trying to find his way in the league. He's not a project. He's not a developmental guy who might pan out in 3 or 4 years. He's ready now. His accuracy is already there. His decision-making is already there. His ability to read defenses and extend plays is already there. What he needs is support, coaching, and an organization that believes in him. Instead, what is he getting? Competition at every turn. Dylan Gabriel in the quarterback room, Deshaun Watson recovering and being talked about as the potential QB1, Russell Wilson rumors floating around, Malik Willis being contacted. It's like Cleveland can't help themselves. They draft a franchise quarterback, they see the flashes, they watch him develop game by game, and then they immediately start looking for someone else to compete with him or replace him. Think about it this way. When Patrick Mahomes was a rookie, did the Chiefs bring in veteran after veteran to compete with him? When Josh Allen was developing in Buffalo, did the Bills panic and sign every available quarterback on the market? No. They committed to their guy. They built around him. They gave him the weapons and the coaching he needed to succeed. And look at where those franchises are now. But Cleveland, they're doing the exact opposite. And the scary part is that it's not just about bringing in competition. It's about the messaging. When your media is on camera saying that the offensive coordinator was hired for a different quarterback, when they're talking about Watson being better than your rookie during an injury window, when they're floating every veteran name they can find, what message does that send to Shedeur? What message does that send to the locker room? What message does that send to the fans? It says they don't believe in him. It says they're hedging their bets. It says they're already planning for him to fail. And you know what the craziest part is? They might be setting themselves up for the biggest regret in franchise history. Because while they're busy trying to resurrect Deshaun Watson's career, while they're chasing Russell Wilson and Malik Willis and whoever else becomes available, Shedeur Sanders is going to keep developing. He's going to keep improving. He's going to keep showing exactly why he was worth the draft pick. And if Cleveland doesn't figure out how to support him soon, some other team is going to be more than happy to give him the opportunity he deserves. Look at what Shedeur has already shown. The pocket presence that completely transformed from his college days. The ability to check out Zone 2 coverage that he never had at Jackson State or Colorado. The patience to wait on receivers to get open instead of forcing throws. The accuracy that's already at an elite level. These aren't things you can teach. These aren't things that come from veteran experience. This is pure talent, pure instinct, pure football IQ.
Truly are people in the organization that last year during that window, forget about more time off, more time to heal. You know, now we're even further away from the surgeries and everything as he's rehabbing and getting his act together with Quincy Avery. His name pops up in this story, his personal quarterback coach. I mean, if it was clear then that he was better than Shedeur Sanders, how would you expect Shedeur to beat him out in a competition? It's kind of sounding like with some of the stuff coming out of there that...
And yet Cleveland is out here talking about Deshaun Watson like it's 2017 again. They're romanticizing the past instead of investing in the future. They're making the same mistakes they've made for decades. Chasing names, chasing headlines, chasing anything except the obvious answer right in front of them. Here's the reality that nobody in Cleveland wants to admit. Shedeur Sanders is better than Deshaun Watson right now. Not in 3 years, not after development, right now. Watson hasn't played meaningful football in over a year. He's recovering from his second torn Achilles. He's 29 years old, which in quarterback years after major injuries is practically ancient. Meanwhile, Shedeur is 22, healthy, hungry, and improving every single week. But Cleveland is Cleveland, and they're going to Cleveland this situation up if they're not careful. They're going to overthink it, overanalyze it, and overcomplicate it until they talk themselves into making the wrong decision. And when Shedeur leaves and becomes a star somewhere else, when Watson's comeback attempt fails spectacularly, when Russell Wilson is retired and Malik Willis is a backup on another team, Cleveland is going to be right back where they started, searching for a franchise quarterback and wondering why they can't ever get it right. The writing is on the wall. Shedeur Sanders has top 5 quarterback potential. He's shown it. The tape shows it. The stats show it. The development shows it. What he needs is an organization that believes in him as much as the fans do.
What he needs is coaches who are committed to his development, not secretly pining for a different quarterback. What he needs is Cleveland to finally, for once in their history, commit to the obvious choice and stop chasing ghosts. So here's my question for you. Is Todd Monken really here for Deshaun Watson, or is Cleveland media just protecting a $230 million mistake? Are we watching the Browns sabotage another young quarterback's career, or is this all just noise before they finally do the right thing? And most importantly, how long until Shedeur demands a trade and leaves this circus behind? Get down in the comments and let me know what you think. Is Shedeur getting a fair shot in Cleveland, or is this whole situation already doomed? And if you want to stay ahead of all the drama, all the insider reports, and all the chaos that comes with following this team, hit that subscribe button right now. Because trust me, this story is far from over. Until next time, stay locked in. Peace.